2 minutes.
All right. Yes, no problem. No problem at all. It's so important to me. So maybe other persons are on who can share similar experiences where you have suffered from sleeping issues. And as I mentioned before, there was a time when I just didn't want to be. I just said to God, why are you keeping me alive? Because it doesn't make any
2 minutes.
sense. All right. Yes, no problem. Yeah, because to me, it didn't make any sense being alive and can't sleep. And I suffered. I used to be afraid for nights to come. And whenever it was drawing at this time and the night was coming, I used to start crying because I know night was coming and I could not sleep. So I'm speaking from personal experience. And that is why having this presentation tonight is important. And maybe other people are suffering from insomnia and or may have had an experience, or you may have an experience in the future. And the thing with insomnia, it's not tangible. It's not something that you can put your hand on. So when you talk to people about, I can't sleep, they'll ask you questions like, what are you thinking about? Or why can't you sleep? Or they'll tell you, just close your eyes and go to sleep. It is so different because it's foreign to a lot of people. It's when you tell somebody I'm having a headache, people can relate to that. When you say to somebody I'm having, or I have diabetes or hypertension, they can relate because they know of somebody or they have family members. But when you talk about insomnia, not many people might struggle with insomnia. And so it's difficult for them to understand. So they'll ask you questions like, so what are you thinking about? Or why can't you sleep? Or they'll tell you, well, just close your eyes, go to sleep, close your mind, not knowing that there's a lot more to having chronic sleeping issues than just closing your eyes or just shutting off your mind. So for me, I'm excited to hear what our presenter will be talking about tonight on this topic. Please join me as we pray to get our meeting started officially. Loving Father in heaven, we thank you for the invitation to come. You have invited us to come to you and to cast our cares and our burdens at your feet. You have also asked us to come because no matter how our sins are, you're able to make us white as snow. You're able to wash us and cleanse us and make us clean. And so tonight we have come on this platform to hear from the presenter as he speaks on a topic that some of us can relate to. There are times when we just struggle to sleep or to fall asleep or even to stay asleep. But we're happy to know that you have the remedy for no matter what the situation is. As long as we trust you, you have provided the information that we need. So we hope and pray that tonight, once we have learned, we will put them into practice so that we can have a good night's rest and we can sleep peacefully. You said in your words that you give your beloved sleep, and that when we lay our heads down, we will have sweet sleep. So tonight, as we look at sleep, I ask that you'll be with Brother Andrew as he presents, that you will speak through him, that you'll give him the knowledge and the understanding, and that as he imparts to us, we all will be blessed. Be with each and every person on tonight, and may we continue to give you all the honor, the glory, and the praise is my prayer with thanksgiving through Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen. Yes, amen. Good evening. And our presenter for this evening is Brother Andrew Silas. He is a certified health coach, stress management coach, and sleep science coach. He has been engaged in the ministry of healing and health education for more than 30 years. Because of his love for God and love for his fellow men, he has allowed the Lord to use him to restore the health of many throughout the US and throughout other countries. But before he speaks to us, we will listen to the theme song.
Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from violation of the laws of health. Step one to overcoming is to ascertain the cause where we have violated God's laws, the laws of health. Step two to overcoming is to change unhelpful conditions and to give God full submission to the laws of health. Step three to overcoming is to have wrong habits corrected, God's character fully reflected by the laws of health. Then nature is to be assisted by expelling its impurities, reestablishing the right conditions that aid the laws of health. In the body, the laws of health. In the body, the laws of health.
Oh, yes. Disease, disease, disease. So, what is disease? Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. In case of sickness, there are 4 steps that should be taken. Step number 1, the cause should be ascertained. Step number 2, unhealthful conditions should be changed. Step number 3, wrong habits should be corrected. And step number 4, then nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities and to reestablish right conditions in the system. So now we will have our presenter, Brother Andrew Silence. Over to you, my brother.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Sister Angela, can you please allow me to share my screen?
You can. Oh, you were supposed to be co-host. I'm not sure what happened, but yes, you can now.
Okay. All right. Okay. See here. Okay, I'm going to do this here. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I am so excited to be able to spend this time with you tonight. I'm going to be talking on I'm going to be sharing rather on one of my favorite topics. It's about sleep. You know, scientists have suggested that night shift work, people who work at nights, they say night shift work may be a possible carcinogen, which is a carcinogen, as most of us know, is a cancer-causing agent. And scientists are saying night shift work may be a carcinogen because one of the things that's common to people with certain types of cancers, including colorectal, prostate, breast cancer, and others, they have noticed that one of the common things among them is that they do night shift work. And it makes a lot of sense when you understand what's involved, how the immune system operates, and how sleep affects our immune system. And we're going to go into that a little more in detail. But sleep is absolutely important. When we talk about the laws of health, we usually would mention exercise, we talk about rest and diet, etc., etc. And we place a lot of emphasis on these other things, but we really don't go into the heights and depths of sleep. And many people who practice health reform, who are very faithful and strict with health reform, are still sleep deprived. People, we can go to bed, have 8 hours of sleep, but the the type of sleep we commonly would have, even though we may sleep for 8 hours, is not restorative sleep. So tonight I want to talk about that. I want to share with you why sleep is so important. Sleep that we take so much for granted. One of my favorite sleep scientists suggests that instead of having an alarm for waking, we should have an alarm set for going to bed to make sure that we have good sleep. Anyway, I would like to begin with a word of prayer. Dear Father in heaven, we thank you so much for your love and mercy and grace. Father, I come to you tonight asking you to fill me with your spirit, and so that you can use me to present this truth to those who are listening. Father, and my hope, my desire, my plan is that when I'm finished here tonight, when we are finished with this meeting, each of us would be in a better place than when we came on this meeting. A better place, Lord. This would be the beginning of a greater experience in our health. This will be the starting point. And for those who've already started this will be a continuing of achieving abundant health. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. So I want to share with you this Psalm, this portion of Psalm 104, verse 20. It says, well, from verse 20 to 23, it says, you make darkness and it is night, in which all the beasts of the forest creep about. The young lions roar after their prey and seek their food from God. When the sun rises, they gather together and lie down in their dens. Man goes to his work and to his labor until evening. So this is telling us that for the human being, night was made for sleeping. There are some animals that are nocturnal. The lions, for example, it says the young lions roar after their prey and seek for their food when the darkness comes. But for you humans, we are creatures of the day. We are created to function during the day, and night is the time when we go to sleep, when the body rests, when the body takes its rest. In Psalm 127, verse 2, and Sister Angela referred to that in her prayer, says, it is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for so he giveth his beloved sleep. Many people get up early in the morning and go to bed way late hours in the night, working 12, 13 hours, maybe more. But God is saying it's in vain for you to do that, because sleep is something I've given you. Sleep is a gift from God. It's one of the things that we need in order for us to function properly. Now, what are some of the things that may affect our sleep? But before we go, I want to touch briefly on why it is that it is suggested that sleep may be a possible carcinogen. Now, when we are in a stress situation, the body goes into what is called fight or flight. And when it comes to sleep, we notice that psychological stress and sleep are interconnected when it comes to one health. And so there is a direct relationship between our sleep and our health. And here is why. This type of stress, psychological stress, can interfere with your sleep. And when you are having problems sleeping, it causes stress on the body. It's like a cycle. What happens is that when you're in stress mode, your body goes into what is called fight or flight. And the example that I always give is with my neighbor. She called us one day and she said, she was out in her garden picking berries, and she felt that there was something behind her When she turned around, it was a bear, and the bear was turning around the same time she was turning around. They both looked at each other and they both ran in different directions. So now that at that moment, both the bear and my neighbor went into what's called fight or flight mode. And during fight or flight mode, the brain prepares the body to either run from the problem or stand up and fight it, face it. And in order for the body to prepare for either one of those, certain things have to happen. One, the blood pressure rises, then the heart rate increases, the blood sugar is increased also, and the muscles tense. So, and when that happens, your body is in a position, your body is pumped up, ready either to run, either to flee, or to stand up and fight. So now, after the situation is over, everything comes back to normal. But in order for the body to prepare for fight or flight, in order for the body to prepare either to run or to stand up and face whatever it is, the body produces these what are called stress hormones, and these stress hormones are involved in the blood pressure rise and the heart rate increasing and the blood sugar increasing and the muscle tension. These hormones are involved, and one of these stress hormones is something called cortisol, and a lot of you might know what I'm talking about. So cortisol increases, and that stimulates the blood pressure and the blood sugar and the heart rate. Now, the way how the body is designed, anything that is non-essential at any given time is usually lowered. And in this case of fight or flight, the function of our immune system is considered non-essential. So our white blood cell, our natural killer cells, and all these fighting organisms, the body's army, as we can say, takes a rest. All right, it doesn't stop altogether, but our white blood cells, the natural killer cells, the cytotoxic T cells, and all these cells becomes less during fight or flight. Now, so the problem is over. The lady runs into her house, locks her doors, and looks outside through her window. She's in a safe place. The bear is somewhere where is not threatened. So everything goes back to normal. The cortisol level becomes lowered. It comes back to its normal state, and so does the blood pressure, the blood sugar, the heart rate, and the muscles. But can you imagine if the body stays in constant fight or flight mode? That means that your cortisol levels will always be high, and so would be your heart rate and your blood pressure and your muscles. Your body will constantly stay in this fight or flight mode, which is not really a healthy thing. When that happens, because the body is not designed to stay in fight or flight mode or stress mode continually, after a while, our health becomes affected. And one of the things that suffer when we stay in stress mode continuously is our immune system. Other systems are affected also. The heart, the liver, and the whole body as a whole is affected by continual release of cortisol when we are in continual stress mode. So how does this relate to sleep? Well, when you are having a good night's sleep, when you're experiencing all your sleep stages and your sleep is restorative, what happens is that your cortisol level also becomes lower. As you're going about your life during the day, your cortisol is at a certain level. But when you're sleeping, when you're getting some quality sleep, your cortisol level goes even lower. So your body is under even less stress. And what happens when as your cortisol level gets lower, your white blood cell activity increases. So imagine, instead of your white blood cell activity being increased by proper sleep, it becomes those white blood cells become their quantity and their power decreases when you are not getting enough sleep. So that is why we're told that sleep deprivation may be a possible carcinogen, because when we're not sleeping, our immune system is not functioning properly. So that's the reason behind why sleep deprivation or night shift work may be considered a carcinogen. I often wonder what is what's going on in our bodies. Many of us, for many years, we have not had a good night's sleep. And you can imagine, a lot of times people say, I was healthy all my life, and all of a sudden I come down with cancer. I came down with cancer. But it doesn't happen all of a sudden. It happens over a period of time. One day the body says, I can't handle this anymore. And your immune system breaks down more, and you become vulnerable, and you develop these diseases. Now, how do we know that besides what we see with sleep deprivation and our immune system, how do we know that how are scientists able to prove that lack of sleep or sleep deprivation really affects our immune system in a negative way? Besides the lowering of the cortisol, there are studies that show that one of the studies, they took a group of subjects, and they limit them to, I think, 4 hours of sleep. That's for one night. They limit these subjects to 4 hours of sleep. And what they did, before they went to sleep, they took their natural killer cell level, the natural killer cell count. They took that count, and then they send them off to sleep. Well, after 4 hours, these subjects were awakened, and their natural killer cell level was checked again. And guess what? The scientists found that after just one night of sleep deprivation, one night of 4 hours of sleep, these natural killer cell levels were reduced by about 7%. Can you imagine that? A whole 7% decrease in natural killer cell level just after one night of sleep deprivation. Now, could you imagine what we are doing to our immune system when we are constantly experiencing sleep deprivation? For some people, people will tell me, I just get 3 hours of sleep at night and I'm good, or 6 hours of sleep at night and I'm good. But you're not really good, because your immune system is suffering. And it's not just the immune system. I'm just sharing that because cancer is something that many people are concerned about, cancer and other infectious diseases. But sleep deprivation will have a major impact on your immune system, along with stress. And we see the cycle. Stress can interfere with your sleep. And when you're having sleeping problems, it causes stress on the body. And as a result, our immune system is affected. Another study that was done, this was actually a genetic study. And again, a group of subjects were given limited hours of sleep. And I think this study ran for 1 week. And what they did, they checked their genetic activity levels before the study was started. At the end of the week, they checked their genetic activity level again, and they found that that genetic activity, 50% were increased. 50% of the genetic activity was increased, and 50% was decreased. And what they noticed is that the genetic activity that was decreased had to do with our immune system. That's one of the things, had to do with our immune system when it comes to tumors and other things. Again, this shows how sleep deprivation affects our immune system, and in this case, even from a genetic level. So it's really, really important for us to learn how to sleep, how to get restored to sleep. Sorry, I just came from a long trip, and I'm kind of tired right now, if you hear me fumbling. So because of the present health crisis, the prevalence of cancer, it is important for us to consider optimizing our immune system. Sleep and stress both have a great impact on our ability to resist cancer, influenza, and infectious disease, etc. So now I know tonight we're not talking about stress, we'll do that some other time, but we're talking about sleep. It's very, very important. If for no other reason, for the sake of optimizing our immune system and reducing our risk for cancer and other infectious diseases, sleep, proper sleep is important. So I have gone through this part already. So I'm not going to deal with this. Now, what I want to do, I just don't want this to be just a lecture. I would like some interaction. So I'm going to ask you at this time before we continue. And I think I went ahead of my time. This part of the study was supposed to be sleep and your immune system, but I think we went through that already, most of it. Well, actually, no. Yeah, we did. We did go through that. All right, so I'm going to start from this part. But before I go, does anyone have any questions at this time? Anyone has any questions? There's something I said that you're not clear about that you want me to go over. Okay, so this is more on the study that I just mentioned. One of the things that they found with the sleep study, with the genetic sleep study, was that there were problems with more than 700 different types of genes. And the genes that were turned off, oh yeah, this is it. The genes that were turned off were related to the immune system in the genetic study. So you see that these of the 700 genes, some were turned off, and the ones that were turned off were the ones that had to do with our immune system. And the genes that were turned up in activity were related to tumors, inflammation, and more. So I want to emphasize this. The genes that were turned off had to do with the immune system, had to do with the body's ability to fight and resist cancer and infections, etc. And the ones that were turned up were the ones that were related to tumors, inflammation, and more. You know, in the last several years, there is a lot said about inflammation. Almost everybody, every person that's involved in natural healing and even in mainstream medicine talks about inflammation. It seems like everyone is loaded with inflammation in their bodies, and we're constantly trying to do things to reduce inflammation. I'm not into reducing inflammation because inflammation just doesn't happen. There is a cause. So when a person, sometimes after my lectures, someone will say to me, or someone will call me and ask me, what can I do to reduce inflammation? And my answer would be, first, to find out what's causing the inflammation. And when we study sleep and stress, we have discovered that sleep and stress is one of the major causes of immune system, of inflammation. Inflammation is actually an immune response to some injury. So the key is not to find anti-inflammatory foods or anti-inflammatory herbs, because your inflammation is not due to a lack of anti-inflammatory foods, or not due to inflammatory foods, or a lack of anti-inflammatory herbs. Your inflammation has a cause, and as a brother mentioned in his opening remarks, he talks about the 4 stages of healing. One, identifying the cause. The cause to be ascertained. We're told wrong habits corrected, wrong conditions changed. Then nature is to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurities and reestablish right conditions in the system. But what we do the assisting nature first, which is not the way. We first want to find out what's causing this inflammation, And then we will discover as we use the 8 laws of health as our measuring stick, we will discover that it may be sleep deprivation or it may be stress. Excuse me. And so we go about, and the one of the things that we told is to change our unhelpful conditions and correct our wrong habits. And it may very well be due to our stress and our sleep. Studies show, talking about stress, and again, this is not what our topic is, but it so happened that there's a relation between stress and sleep deprivation. But studies show, brain science studies show that when when your body, when your mind experience negative emotions, when you don't forgive someone, or you suffer anxiety or depression, stress, grief, all those negative emotions, because the brain was not wired for those type of emotions, then the brain reacts the same way the body reacts to an infection. Now, let me repeat that. When you're under stress, anxiety, depression, grief, remorse, guilt, lack of forgiveness, and all those things, when those things are part of you, the brain, because the brain was not wired for those things, it responds the way the body responds when there is an infection. And part of that is producing inflammation. So when you get upset with somebody, and us folks, we like to get upset easily, spouses, husband and wives, or parents and children. Everybody gets upset, gets mad, gets angry, vengeful, don't want to forgive. When we experience those type of emotions, the body produces inflammation. So again, instead of looking for something anti-inflammatory, or looking to see which foods produce inflammation, let us see what's causing the inflammation and correct it. Manage the stress and get sleep. So during restorative sleep, we already went through this also. When we get into restorative sleep, the levels of the stress hormone cortisol is lowered and immune activity is increased. Okay, so what are some of the ways? Well, before we get into tips for good sleep hygiene, I want to ask the question again. Do you have any questions or comments or thoughts on this so far? Okay. Any questions or comments? Anyone would like to ask? All right. Let me see here now. So another thing that I want to mention with sleep deprivation is men and their testosterone levels. When you are sleep deprived as a male, let's say you're a male 50 years old, when you sleep deprived, your testosterone level is usually that of a person who is 10 years older than you. So if you're 30 and you sleep deprived, your testosterone level is equivalent to a person 40 years old, a male 40 years old. If you're 40 years old and you sleep deprived, your testosterone level is that of a male 50 years. Now, and as far as women are concerned, the sleep deprivation does have an impact on your hormones also. So for both men and women, sleep is very necessary for keeping those important hormones at a proper functioning level. Another thing with sleep deprivation is Alzheimer's or dementia. During the nights, during your sleep, your third stage sleep especially, the brain cleanses itself from those waste products, those beta amyloids. They are waste products that the brain accumulates during activity of the day. And usually during the day, your spinal fluid is usually concentrated in one area, but when you sleep in, the spinal fluid moves to your brain and helps to cleanse it from those toxic byproducts. So when you sleep deprived, especially after a number of years, you are at risk of developing those mental health problems, Alzheimer's, and other things. So again, sleep is important for mental and brain health. What about weight management? Well, there are two hormones that the body uses. One, when it comes to appetite, one of these hormones will tell you, will help you to know when it's time for you to eat. You know, your appetite is turned on by this hormone, and when you have had enough, by the help of another hormone, the appetite is turned down, it's shut off. Now, studies have shown when a person is sleep deprived, these hormones operate in reverse. They. So when you think, you know, you might be going through, you might just be eating a meal, and 2 hours you might just have finished eating a good heavy meal. 2 hours after, you feel hungry again. It may not be that you need food. It may be that your body is crying out for sleep. But because these hormones are not operating the way they should, they're operating in the opposite way. When you think you're hungry, you know, you want, when I just ate, why am I still hungry? It may be that you're sleeping instead of being hungry. So again, if you want to keep your body properly regulated in every area, sleep is important. And what I'm telling you tonight is just the tip of the iceberg. You know, this goes very deep, but I'm giving you that which is needed for you to understand at this time. And one of the things with the satiety hormones, you know, the hormones that tells you, okay, I need food, and the one that tells you, okay, you've had enough. When you crave food when you're not really hungry but sleepy, usually you crave foods that are unhealthy. See, so you know, you might have having a craving for refined carbohydrate foods or sugar or something that's not healthy, because right now the brain is not functioning the way it should when it comes to what your nutritional or food needs are. So it's just telling you, put something in my stomach, and it's usually things that are not healthy. So proper sleep, restorative sleep, and I want to use the word restorative sleep because that's what sleep does. It restores the body. So for a person who is concerned about weight management, the sleeping habits should be considered. Okay, so the question is, how do I get a good night's sleep? Or how do I get proper sleep? How do I get restorative sleep? And as I mentioned before, it's suggested to set an alarm for going to bed. But I'm not gonna say that. What I'm gonna say is manage your time better. Manage your time and for your day's activity. And usually when we do time management is for our work or school and other things. But sleep should be a very important part of our time management. Going to bed should be a very important part of our time management. We should set times. You know, it is said that the best time for us to be in bed sleeping is 9 o'clock. And I know folks are going to say to me, well, that's impossible. Now, we have a choice. You know, there's certain things that are options, and there's certain things that are necessities. Okay, sleep and exercise, those are not optional. For optimum health, proper sleep and exercise are not optional. They're both necessities. But we're talking about sleep. So sleep should be, you know, in time, and when I teach people time management, I talk about prioritizing. You have so many hours a day to do a whole lot of things. And when you look at your list, you may come to the realization that, you know, you don't have time. I don't have time to complete this list. So what you do is you put priority, you prioritize what's more important. In setting priorities, we may come to realize that a lot of the things on the list are not that important. In fact, some of them can be even eliminated. And like watching TV, for example, and I know someone is saying, "What are you talking about?" Um, but we're not going to go into that. We leave that for another time. But that's something that should not be a priority. And if I have, and well, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you what I think is rational. And if I see watching TV, I have a list of things that I want to do during that day, and I notice that I don't have enough time to do everything. In my prioritizing, I will look at watching TV as one of the things that I could eliminate, or going on Facebook, or Snapchat, or whatever the others are, TikTok. I will look at I will I will put social media as the bottom of the list because it's absolutely, and that's for me. I don't know about you, but for me it's absolutely not necessary unless I'm using my, like, I have my Facebook business page where I post health tips, or something positive, something that's helpful to my community. I see that as a priority. But if I'm just going for entertainment, it's not really necessary. So I can cut that out of my list so that I can get the things that are important done. Some things um, can be put off. Like, here's a mom. Um, a mom comes home, she goes to work, and you hear me talk a lot because I deal with relationships, and I see a lot of times where um, both husband and wife are going to work, both husband and wife have jobs, and but the husband comes home and he switches on his TV and he's relaxed. Everything is served him. But the wife comes home and the wife continues to work. She prepares dinner, then she does the dishes and she cleans. I have a problem with that picture. I don't think that's something good. I think if both if both husband and wives are earning incomes, then they both should share household duties. Now, if the wife was not going out and earning a living, then it's okay for her to do the dishes and do the cooking and cleaning. But if she is going out to earn an income just like the husband, then both of them should share in that. But that's my belief. I think um, helping my wife in our daily work is a good thing. I want to have a healthy, happy wife, and that's one of the ways I think it could work. But anyway, but the point is, yeah, I know I'm going off in a tangent, but that's I had to bring that in because, and here is why I have to bring that in, because after all the work that the wife has to do, then the next thing she has to do is go and do the dishes. Well, it's 9 o'clock and it's time for bed. And but she goes in the kitchen and said, "Oh, I have to do the dishes." And so I asked the question: Is the dishes more important than getting a good night's sleep? Or in other words, should I sacrifice quality sleep to make sure that the dishes are done? And that's a question that I'm going to throw out to you. What do you think? Should I sacrifice getting, let's say I'm a female, or even if I'm a male that does stuff like that? Because in our home, we share duties in the home. Is it worth, is it, should I sacrifice my sleep just to make sure that these dishes are done and the kitchen is clean? Um, and that's a question I want to ask you. What do you think based on what I'm sharing? So, but point is, here we're talking about prioritizing so that we can have everything that's important done, which includes getting a good night's sleep. And getting a good night's sleep includes going to sleep the right time, going to bed the right time. So how does that happen? Because some people will say, well, I go to bed at 8 o'clock, or I'm in bed at 8 o'clock and maybe I sleep by 9. So the question I ask is, what do you do? What are you doing at least 90 minutes before sleep time? What are you doing? Because if I'm on my phone watching at this screen or on my computer or TV, and then I just switch it on, I see, oh, it's 9 o'clock, switch it on, and I go to bed. Um, that is not good if you want to have restorative sleep. You want to have quality sleep, because what happens in the presence of daylight, the body is producing melatonin. That's one of your major sleep chemicals. And when as the sun starts to go down, the place starts to get dark, the body releases melatonin, because it needs at least 90 minutes of that release before the brain is fully ready to sleep. But the sun is down. So what we do, we switch on the lights, and these lights are designed to mimic daylight. So as far as your brain is concerned, you are still experiencing daylight. So you want to switch it. You want to switch your lights off, and if you still need light, then these are these lights that you can get off of Amazon. They're orange color lights, and what they do, the light spectrum is not the same as daylight, like with the regular type of light bulbs. So your body still releases its melatonin. That is if you still need light. I start my clients, I start them off at 15 minutes, 90 minutes at the beginning may be overwhelming. Start with 50 minutes before bedtime, you turn off your lights and or on your screens, Then the last meal of the day should be at least 3 hours before sleep time. Well, it depends on what you do. If you're eating a regular meal with proper protein, a regular type of meal that you will have during midday, then you need at least 5 hours before you go to sleep. So if it's something light, maybe fruit, popcorn, like most Adventists will do, their light supper is popcorn and fruit. That 3 hours could work. If for people that drink coffee, you should not have any coffee. At least the last cup of coffee should be at least 4 hours before sleep time. No, I'm not promoting the use of coffee, but I know some people still do it. But if you want to have restorative sleep, you want to have your last cup at least 4 hours before bedtime. Another thing is to practice regularity um practice regularity in your sleeping and your waking up. Regularity, studies have shown that regularity, like in everything else, regularity in sleeping is important for restorative sleep. What does that mean? Well, every night you should be going to bed at the same time, and in the morning waking up at the same time, and that includes weekends. Some people say, okay, it's Friday night, I don't have to get up to work tomorrow, so I'm going to watch a movie, I'm going to stay up till 12 o'clock. You actually are, when you do that, you interfere with your sleep cycle, with your sleep pattern, and that will have a negative impact. So regularity is very, very important. Another tip is, for those of you who are married, the bedroom should only be for sleep and sex, not for working. Because remember, you want to sleep, you want to relax, rest. So many people, and I've done it myself. We go to bed with books to read or work to do, go to bed with my laptop or something. And but when I studied sleep science, I do not do that anymore, unless it's something that I really have to do. But as what I'm sharing with you, I'm learning, I'm practicing, I'm improving, because these are habits that we've developed all our lives, and these are habits that we inherited from our parents and grandparents. So it takes it's a struggle, it's work, like how we change our diet or anything else. Practicing proper sleep habits needs a lot of work, but by God's grace we can do it. So that's all the bedroom. When you go into when you walk into your bedroom, all your brain, the only thing that should register in your brain is sleep. not watching TV, not working, or sex. By the way, in my studies, I discovered that the best time to engage in intimacy is in appropriate hours. You don't want to engage in that when at the time anybody's supposed to be resting and sleep. Because remember, your brain, your heart, your nervous system, they are all involved in sexual activity. So you wanna engage in that when you're well rested, not when you're tired or you're worn out. I mean, we do it because hey, we have to work, so we find the time. Whenever the time is available, we do it. But for better health, for better sleep, and for better health on a whole, even for better sex, it's better to do it at a time when it's not sleeping time, when you're not tired, and so forth. Okay, so I've just threw that in because that sometimes can affect our sleep pattern. So these are some of the tips that I want to share with you tonight, and there is more. So there's some things that can help. These are recommended teas that can help with having a good night's sleep. Chamomile, lavender, valerian root, hops, and passion flower. These are four of my favorites. And then you have essential oils that you can use also to help you with a good night's sleep. The lavender, ylang ylang, sweet marjoram, sandalwood, and jasmine. And so these are some of the things that you may want to implement. Another thing with getting a good night's sleep is that your bedroom, the sites in the bedroom should be that which is relaxed. And for those of you who like flowers, you could have a painting with flowers, or a painting of an ocean where the water is calm, mild, or lake or something like that. Those are all things. Do things, make your make your bedroom a place that is suitable for relaxation and sleep, and that will help integrate this. If your bedroom is cluttered, get rid of the clutter, because clutter also could have a negative effect on your mind and your brain. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and leave the time open. So, and Angela, you can turn this over to you now. I'm here for some questions or comments. For those who may have anything you would like to ask.
Yes, I just want to thank Brother Angie Silas for tonight's presentation on sleep. So many of us are suffering from insomnia and other sleeping issues. So it's a timely presentation. So now we will have our question and answer session. If there is anyone with a question, you could raise your hand. Yes, and we will unmute you. And okay, we have a hands up. Sister Sylvia, you could go ahead. You can unmute.
Good night, everyone. The presenter said something about light. I didn't quite get it because I have a sleeping problem, well, sometimes more than others. And I find that if I sleep with the light on, I sleep better than when I sleep in the dark. Because sometimes when I'm in the dark, I get a feeling of being stifled, and I have to get up, jump up. I don't know if it's a mind thing or what, but sometimes when I'm falling asleep in the dark, it feels like somebody's over me, stifling me, holding something over my nose. But when I sleep in the light, I find that I sleep better. I will sleep through the night in the light. But I was told that is not good for me.
Yeah.
So I would like that to be addressed.
Yeah. A lot of times experiences in our childhood can cause things like that to happen. So we're afraid of dark. But many people, based on a lot of different experiences, like my mom cannot sleep in the dark. She has to have light somewhere. I'm like that too. But over the years, I've learned that I had an experience once, and because of that, I usually like to have, I will put the night light on, but it would not be, I would use the orange light, because the orange light doesn't produce the same spectrum as the regular light. So, but I will have just a little bit of it, of the orange light, so that when I open my eyes, I can see some kind of object. Because of an experience I had sleeping in a dark basement once. But so if you're gonna do, I'm not gonna say, because sometimes we can be extreme in our thinking, not realizing that every person's, even though we have these principles, but our individual experience may require certain things that are different. If you think that you have that problem where you must have this light, then I will say start with the orange light, and put it in a place where it would not be eliminating the whole place, but put it where just part of that light is showing, and see if over a period of a few months or so, if eventually you put less and less, and maybe your brain might get accustomed to that. But definitely, the brain, you have better sleep in darkness. You have better sleep in darkness. So, but if you think that, because of your experience, you still have that issue, then I would definitely, switch out the light bulb and do the orange light. And you can get them on Amazon. You look for light, you look for bulbs that prevents the blocking of melatonin release. And if you type in those words, you'll find them on Amazon or wherever. Okay, does that answer your question, Cydia?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, Kurt.
Yes, sir. Is there any truth to the ability to catch up on sleep if you're sleep deprived? And by
No.
that, I'm sorry. I was just
Go
going to
ahead,
say,
go ahead.
I was going to say by that, I mean, like, for instance, if you get 4 hours one night, if you sleep like, 10 hours the next night, does that affect
No.
you positively, or does that make a difference or no?
No, you cannot catch up on sleep. Lost sleep is never regained. But what could happen, your any damage in the body, any injury to the body can be healed and reversed. So but you can't catch up with what's lost. You can just recover your brain and nervous system. Now and again, it's not so much the amount of sleep you have is very important, but it's the type of sleep also. So 4 hours one night and 10 hours another night really doesn't make much of a difference. What works is if you change a pattern of consistency. But you don't regain what is lost. You only regain. You can restore brain function and nervous system function. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Just want to confirm. I had a suspicion that was the answer, but I just want to confirm.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, I see Galaxy and Galaxy S8. Can you tell us what your name is?
Yeah, good evening.
Good.
I just want to remain anonymous, but
Okay.
yeah, but I have a lot on my mind. I don't know how to just try to relax and shut my mind off, right? And in the past, I did take passion flower and chamomile. I haven't been like consistent like that, but as for, let's just say, I mean, if I start back again, how often should I take the tea? Should I take it twice? Because even if I take it one time, it feels like it does nothing for me.
Yeah. Okay. So before I answer the question, I just want to give a disclaimer. Nothing that I'm sharing here is for treatment, cure, prevention, or diagnosis of any disease. Anyway, now that we've gotten that out of the way, well, as far as passion flower, it depends on what works for you.
And the same thing with chamomile and valerian, whatever. If like I have a sleep combination, and what I tell my clients, you start with, my suggestion is to start with one dropper of the tincture 1 hour before bedtime, and if need be 1 hour at bedtime. Some people will tell me the one dropper full 1 hour before bedtime works for them, and some will say that they have to take a second dose, and some will say sometimes one will work and sometimes I have to take two. So it all depends on what's going on at that time. Um, that will determine how to do that. Also, what I'm going to suggest, especially, you have a lot on your mind, practice relaxation techniques. People, I in the past I would say, okay, pray, read the Bible, sing. That works for some people, and for some people it doesn't. So, and I realize over the years that, because what's important is that we learn to relax. Um, the reading the Bible, praying, those things are very helpful. But if we are not resting in the promises, if it's just reading and praying, but we still have all these things in our mind, it really doesn't help. So it's important for us to learn to relax. Oh, let me tell you one of the things that I've known. I'm not going to say that it works for everyone, but people that I know do it, it really works, is to put on rain songs. Is to play rain songs. And I remember the first time my daughter, one of my older daughters, in fact, two of my children will do rain songs. And I'm thinking, I don't think, and then my wife started doing it. And of course, when my wife started doing it, I'm in the bed with her, and I'm thinking, this thing is going to keep me awake. This thing is going to be disturbing. And I discovered that the rain songs really helped. I don't have a problem falling asleep, but I have a problem getting quality sleep sometimes. But when I'm doing the rain songs, of course, I don't have to do it all the time, because there's sometimes, based on the day in my ministry, sometimes, that's how it is. I go to bed, I'm thinking about a lot of things. But the rain songs, I found that to work without fail. So I'm just going to suggest those two things to you, to learn to relax and ease your mind, and try the rain songs. Those of us from the Caribbean who remember growing up, or even now, those of us who still live in there, there's something about the rain on the house top. It just calms you and puts you to sleep. But you can get it artificially by there are videos that you can find on YouTube with rain songs, and I will try that.
Yeah, I tried that in the past too.
And did it help?
No.
Okay. So you need to connect with me, and let's talk about that, because there could be a lot of reasons why you have in those, besides besides having a lot on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you might need some coaching on those things.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Perlin B. Did
Hi,
I say
good evening.
your name
Helen,
correctly?
right? Thank you. Yes, you did.
Okay.
Just a question. These teas, can they become addictive? I try not to take things to rely on anything. So, could they
I've
become
never found
addictive?
any addictive chemicals in those teas. You might be psychologically dependent on them, but as far as
Okay.
chemical addiction, there are no chemicals in those that would be addicting. And the teas, we should use the tea just to help, but But while we're doing that, we should also work on on um, on helping our brain to learn to relax and to get better sleep. Well, it's always good to find out why am I not sleeping properly. And a lot of times it could be things that have affected us even from childhood that still bother us. And many people, many Christians walk around with burdens that they have carried from childhood, sometime in marriages and in grown-up years that they haven't really let go of. Well, we might say, okay, I've let go of it. I'll bring it before the Lord, but sometimes deep down inside. So I'm saying that to suggest that we pay some attention to what's causing our sleeping problems and then work on those things. But like I said, that those things I've not known them to be addictive.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I see Sister Angela.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Galaxy S8, your hand is still up, or you have another question, or you just didn't take it down?
No, I just didn't take it down. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you so much. Oh, Carol, go ahead. And Brother Andrew, I'm glad you mentioned that we should not continuously take the herbs because we want to get to the root cause of the problem. And a situation is, let me share a story as to when our bodies become dependent on natural remedies to the point where when it is needed, the body does not recognize it anymore as medicine. And so if we're having sleeping issues, you want to take it for a certain period of time, but get to the root cause of the problem. Don't live on taking these teas forever. This lady, I got the news last week. I was speaking with somebody and then somehow the name came up and she said to me, oh, you heard that she died? I said, what? What do you mean died? She said, yes. And I was stopped in my tracks. I said, what happened? Food poisoning. And she used the charcoal, and we know, we've tested, we've proven that charcoal is excellent for all different kind of poisons, including food poisons. And that had not helped her. Do you know why? Because she was always using charcoal. Now, even though we're sharing these natural remedies on this platform, we're not telling people go home and start using natural remedies for no reason at all. So the person who shared the story with me said that she was constantly taking charcoal for what I don't know. So we know that these are natural remedies and they're useful for certain things, ailments, issues, diseases, not for food. The moment we start taking natural remedies for food, when there's an issue in the body and the body needs it to work, the body will not recognize it anymore. So if you have sleeping issues, take them for a while, get to the root cause of the problem and get over the problem, but don't live on these things. Okay? Just thought I'd share that story. I did see, Carol, yes, go ahead, Carol.
I just had a question on weighted blankets and calming somebody to sleep. Is that a recommended item to use, especially for kids?
I've never had any experience with using the weighted blankets, but I've heard that it's effective. But I can't say I've never. It's not something I've really looked into. So I don't know the principle involved in the weighted blankets. Are you talking about for sleeping?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's possible that it may work. Based on the like when you hug when you hug a child, you have your child in bed and you hug that child. The child goes to sleep, they relax and they calm. Maybe that's the principle involved there, and maybe like that. Some people that are married also, they will tell you, well, I'm gonna let you in and my experience. My wife, I travel a lot. When I come home, my wife would say, just the other day, my daughter came in the morning. She leaves early, so she came in. Ma, how hey guys, how was it last night? How do you sleep, Ma? Oh, she said, well, my honey is here, so I slept really well. And sometimes just being near. So I'm thinking that maybe the principle, having that weight, that the weight blanket might be the equivalent of having someone there. And so maybe that's one of the reasons why it can be effective. So
Okay,
yeah,
Carol.
go ahead.
No. So Carol, that answers your question. And then Monica?
Yes.
Okay.
And when you have a child, I don't know what's the circumstances here, but yeah, children internalize a lot of things, especially, a lot of times and I'm not saying this is your situation, but I'm just saying in general, when children are not allowed to speak, we have this saying that we grew up with children should be seen and not heard. And a lot of times children are forced to suppress things that they're experiencing, especially in school and other ways, even in their homes. And that can affect their sleep. So those of us parents, I just want to remind you that a lot of times there's where bad sleeping habits start. From childhood, and children have things pent up and bottled up in their mind. So give your children an opportunity to express them, and don't let them be afraid to speak to you.
Thank you so much. Any more questions or comments on tonight's presentation? Monica, did you speak already?
I'm just joining because I had another meeting, so I came in a little late. So I'm just listening to everything.
Okay, because I saw you unmuted yourself, so I just thought you wanted to say something. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions nor any more comments. And so, Brother Andrew, thank you so much for tonight's presentation on getting a good night's sleep. You have said several things that I can totally relate to. And I think the most important thing is for us to retrain the brain to know how to sleep naturally and by itself, because we get so dependent sometimes on aids, be it medication, over-the-counter drugs, or herbal remedies, to the point where the brain itself does not know how to fall asleep anymore. And that is what is key. And yes, somebody asked about melatonin. Melatonin can help. Let me share my story again. I did share earlier on that I suffered from insomnia. It was for about 6 or so years. It started 2011 and it went to about 2018, 19, thereabouts. So it was chronic insomnia. And I used to take melatonin on the bottle itself because my sleeping problem was so bad. On the bottle, it says 1 melatonin. I would end up taking sometimes 4 or 5. I just needed something to help me to sleep. It got to the point where my body became so used to taking melatonin, it no longer recognized melatonin. That is why we're saying do not allow the body or the brain to become dependent on anything, because if that is the case, when the body really needs it, it has no use to the body. And after a point, when I started taking melatonin, it gives me headache. So now, and it's been a couple of years, I've not even used any melatonin because I recognized it started giving me headache. My body got so used to it, I just took too much. And I overdosed myself on taking melatonin. Yes, it's good. The body produces melatonin in the dark. And at this time, our bodies should start producing melatonin, getting us ready for bed. And that is why Brother Andrew mentioned about the light. Put it in a way where it's not affecting the sleep. You can put it under the bed. If you just want a glow, maybe put the light under the bed. You'll still get a glow of the light in the room. But if you're sleeping in this bright light, then it prevents melatonin. And of course, the body, if melatonin is not being produced, then the cortisone in the body, or the cortisol, that's what is kicking in. And that's where inflammation can start taking place. So get your sleep. Kirk, I see your hand again. Go ahead, and then we're going to wrap up.
Yes, Angela, just on this last point you made about, I guess, weaning yourself off of natural medication. What about, does this counsel apply to, like, over, if you're prescribed medication, like say blood pressure, meds like that, should you try to wean yourself off that as well?
Absolutely. But even though we're not the ones who have placed you on the medication, so you can discuss that with your doctor. But absolutely, I'll say if you feel you're at a point where you're able to get yourself off it, just maybe start with reduced dosage. So if you're taking, for example, 2 or 3 tablets per day, maybe you want to cut down on that and substitute, instead of taking the prescribed medication. Let us say you take 1 in the morning and you're supposed to take 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. You could maybe take that 1 in the morning and take some Garliner's in the afternoon, maybe have a cup of hawthorn berry in the evening, or you could maybe take 2 of your prescribed in the morning and then you take something else, maybe a natural in the evening, but find a way of, as long as there's no contradiction between the drug you're taking and the natural remedies, but you find a way of slowly weaning your body off taking the medication until you're at the stage where you recognize, oh, I'm doing well, I don't need this anymore. For some drugs, if you come off it, you might experience side effects of just coming off cold turkey. So maybe you want to slowly wean yourself off, but do something else in the meanwhile to help while you're reducing those medications.
Right. All right. Okay, then. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Brother Andrew, we have a question from YouTube. So this person mentioned that they do get, okay, let me just go back up, scroll up more on YouTube and see the question. So they have itching. Okay. I'm having trouble sleeping. I wake up itching. And then they're asking, how do I get relief from itching in my sleep? So I did ask what is causing the itching, because we need to know what the root cause of the problem. So yes, go ahead, my brother.
A lot of times that's from the nerves. Or I've known people tell me that when they have that itch at night, it's usually from these little bugs in the bed, like dust mites, bed mites, something like that. But usually, and I've had that experience, you feel like something is biting and crawling, and that's from the nerves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of nerves. Any recommendation as to what the person could do? Maybe.
Yeah. If it's nerve related, there are nerve tonics that you can find. I'm going to bed with bringing a cup of chamomile tea. That yeah, someone said could be a nutritional deficiency also, and that is true. Oh boy, my battery looks like it's gone out. So let's see. Here, just let me put in my card. I had it in the wrong computer. Okay, yeah, that could be. Most times it can be nerves, getting that itching and biting, but it could be other reasons that you should look into. And if it's due to these little bugs and mites or whatever you call them, it may be sometimes our sheet and blankets should be washed frequently. I just found out something recently, that the reason why when you move in a mattress is so heavy, they say it's usually because of all of these the stuff from your skin.
Wow.
When your skin shed, it just builds up over the years. So changing your mattress and washing your sheets and blankets regularly is something that we should practice. Even our pillows, a lot of times we have pillows for years, and we don't keep pillows for years. We get rid of them. Pillows are not expensive, so that's something that you can change. You'll be amazed if you put your pillow or your bed sheets under a microscope. It will scare you. But there are a lot of things. When you have people that have carpets in their home, that's another thing. Carpets really carpet is a breeding ground for a lot of microscopic things.
Mm-hmm.
So, but and that's you go to sleep, you lay down, and you don't know what's going on around you microscopically that can cause itching and biting. But again, like I said, I think the greatest, one of the most prominent cause of that is your nerves. And chamomile tea, the valerian root, those are all things that help. There's a product, it's called Nervine Tonic by a company called Herbs, etc. So that's something that I would recommend.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
yes,
you.
says the laundry detergent or sweating. Yeah.
What's the name of that company? Herbs,
etc.
Okay. All right, thank you. And we'll take the last two hands. And to the person on YouTube, I hope that answered your question regarding the itching. All right, the last two hands. So Galaxy S8, I see you again. And then there is Cydia. So yes, go ahead, Cydia, and then Galaxy S8. And then we'll be saying good night. Good night, Eddie. Thank you for joining us. You fell asleep. All right, go to your bed. Eddie, you do night work. You need to look into that night shift that you're doing. It's not healthy for you. Good night, Eddie.
Okay, so Eddie, just pray about that.
Yes, he does night shift. Now, Eddie's crazy because I think he told me he took on, I think, Eddie, talk to us. Is it 1 a.m. to morning? What, something like that, which I can't fathom that. That is just crazy. But I guess he's strong enough to do that. Yes, good. So yes, Eddie, what shift are you working?
Now everything. Good night and good evening, everyone. I was enjoying it in the beginning, but I just fell asleep. I don't know when exactly, sitting in front of my desk. Now I start a new shift starting at 1:30 in the morning to 9:30 in the morning. So, but by the end of the summer, I will definitely, will get a day shift, so it's not that easy. So that's why I missed last week, one, So I will definitely text you or email you so you can send the, my YouTube link for me again, okay, Angela?
Okay, I'll share it in the chat for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, and I appreciate the open talk. Good night to everyone, and bye-bye. And keep doing what you do, guys. That's
okay.
Bye-bye.
Let's have
Thank
Cydia.
you. And you need to look into that, Eddie, that 1:30 shift. It's not healthy. But thank you for joining us. Have a good night. Cydia and then Galaxy S8, and then we're wrapping up. Go ahead.
Okay, so sometimes I go to bed like if I'm very tired, I might fall asleep early, and then I sleep. And then when I'm to get up in the morning, I can't get up. I am like still tired, and even when I get up, I feel like I can't make it through the day because I'm very tired, and yet still I got the night's sleep.
Yeah, because you slept, but the sleep wasn't restorative. And especially with those lights. Yeah, if you sleep with lights, you will not really get restorative sleep. Yeah, because it's not the quantity. The quantity of sleep is important, but it's the quantity combined with the quality.
Oh, with the quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So just getting the sleep is not enough. The right conditions must be there.
Correct.
Okay. Gotta work on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the last person is Galaxy S8. So go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask you about vitamin D, like direct sunlight. Does that help in some type of way?
Well, there's nothing that could take the place of direct sunlight. There are things about sunlight that you would not get in a vitamin D supplement, but a vitamin D supplement is still useful.
In the lack, if you're not able to get the sunlight as us in Canada or some place in the US, so if you can't get, or the UK, then definitely be taking. But if in Jamaica, the Caribbean, you can get the sunlight, just get outside and get the sunlight. If not, have the not the pills, take the drops, the vitamin D drop, that because the liquid gets to the cells almost immediately.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
All right, Brother Andrew, thank you again, because I know you're tired having traveled and you jumped on without you. I know you didn't get a chance to get some rest, but we do appreciate the fact that you came on. You were just a good trooper, came on with your tired self, and you presented to us, and we have been blessed. Thank you, my brother. Brother
Praise the Lord. You're
Shard.
welcome. Okay.
Brother Shard, please do the final prayer, and then we're just going to have a little chit chat, and then we're going to be out of here as we normally do after we end our meeting on a Tuesday night.
Eternal Father, we just want to thank you for this opportunity. Lord, we thank you for this presentation, Lord, on this topic on sleep, because so many of us are suffering from insomnia and so many sleep disorders. So, Lord, I thank you for the information. I pray that we will use, oh Father, all the information and not just keep it to ourselves, but we will share it with those who are suffering from the same conditions. We thank you for this evening program. We pray that you would continue to bless everyone that is represented here, oh Father. And I pray that you would continue to be with us. In Jesus' name, I pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen. Brother Shad, we notice you're hiding us. Why is it that we can't see who is talking in the background? But thanks again, everybody, for joining us. It was a pleasure having you. Remember, we do this every Tuesday night at the same time when we talk health. So do not fail to join us. And when you get the flyer, please, please, please share the flyer and invite others to come and join us as well, so they can be blessed, because what we're sharing over here is good news. It is hope, and we are changing lives. Indeed, we have been called for such a time as this. Next week, we're going to be looking at forgiveness and or health. How does let me put it, unforgiveness and health, unforgiveness and health. And Brother Andrew did allude to that tonight as well, that even sleeping issues can be affected by the lack of forgiveness. How does unforgiveness affect your health? Join us next week, Tuesday night, and you will know. Many people suffering from cancer, the research has shown, and we're going to show you a research next week by a university out there in the world, the study they did on unforgiveness and its relation to sickness and cancer. It's mind-boggling how many people have died from different diseases, including cancer, especially. They tried many different things. They didn't get better because they were harboring unforgiveness in their hearts. Do you notice when you're upset with someone and you see that person, how that feeling you get within you? It is telling us that something is wrong and we should seek to make amends. Because if you see someone and you have to walk on the other side of the road, or the person enters the room and you have to dodge, or you go to the back or to the side of the room, it says something is wrong and there's something that must be dealt with. And if that is the case, then it means that we haven't started the journey of healing as yet. So join us next week. We're going to be talking about that, and you'll hear a lot more. All right, everyone. Now it's your turn. You can unmute yourselves. You can say hello. You can say good night. And for the persons who are joining us for the first time, JB, hold on, JB. I see some new persons, because let me see the new persons that I don't know. Let me call them out. Shanice Davis, I don't know that. Sister West, welcome.